Welcome to Graphic Policy Television and Board Game. Today we're doing a review of Magic number 3, the latest issue in the series that takes the popular collectible card game and brings it to comics. Now, this isn't the first time there's been Magic comics. There's been some previous volumes and runs, actually quite a few volumes in different series from different publishers, but now we got one from Boom Studios, and so far it's been a fairly interesting start. So let's dive into the creators first. It's written by Jed MacKay, illustrated by Guara, and then colored by Arianna Consonni, and then lettered by Ed Dukeshire. So the series has been interesting. The story goes, there's been some assassination attempts, and 3 Planeswalkers are out to try to figure out who is behind the attempted assassinations. What's been fascinating about the series is it really is just straight up, a story about, 3 leaders of a group who someone attempted to assassinate. Like, it really keeps it simple and then uses the Magic world as the background and kind of the flavor. And to me, that's really, really intelligent. The first issue, I think, really focused on the crime and the assassination attempt, and his was solid in that way. I thought it was fairly new reader friendly. You didn't have to know Magic the Gathering. I'm sure there was a lot more in the comic for those who are familiar with the game than those who may not be. Now, I'm in a weird world where I used to play it way a long time ago. Kind of dipped my toes in every once in a while and just was way overwhelmed. So generally have stayed away from it. But I get the concepts, and I figure out when I think there's references to cards and stuff like that. But I don't know the deep dive at all, and I mean, it'd be kind of cool for a little reference guy in the back of the comics for that sort of thing, but nitpicking here and there. So what's interesting in the comic is, like, with each subsequent issue, I think it's dived a bit more into the Magic end of things, where the initial issue was 70-75% just about the story, the background, the setup, and didn't really dive too much into the details. With each subsequent issue, it feels like it's going more and more into those, like, hey, we're going to do a lot of references to Magic cards and things that are very specific to the game. Second issue was a little bit more. Third issue, even more so. In that case, like, one feels dragged out, like hey, we did the setup, now we kind of got to do the nerd cred aspect of it, and build up that nerd cred. And this issue has the 3 Planeswalkers going and trying to find a guild who they think might be responsible for the attacks. And it's just a journey of them traveling underground as they attempt to find this mysterious guild, with references to, like, thralls and different creatures and stuff like that. And I feel like, all those references are kind of that, like, wink wink nerd cred thrown in there, and it's not necessarily a complete negative thing, but it almost feels like it's done a little bit too much to pad out the comic, to expand the comic. Like, I think you could have taken the second issue and the third issue, combined them, maybe cut some stuff out, and sped up the pacing a lot more. Basically, the second and third issue just feel a little bit dragged out, but as a whole, like, as part of the story, it's a fine issue. I think just on its own, there's a little bit of pacing, and it's not even like it's a slow plotting comic. It just feels like, other than learning about the personalities and some of, like, the interactions and history between these characters, there's not more really a lot to kind of move the plot along, other than the final reveal at the end and some, like, teasing images that I'm sure fans of the Magic the Gathering will appreciate and understand more than us people who don't play the game. But, like, as I said, as a piece of the puzzle, I think it's good. And maybe as a trade, the first arc would probably read a bit better than single issues. Like, I came away with this being like, it just didn't suck me in quite like the first issue. And it didn't feel quite as, like, information-packed as the second issue, where the first issue introduces you to the world, set up the situation. The second issue kind of brought into more of the politics and set the journey on its way. This third one focuses on the characters themselves and their history and interactions, which all is really important, but it feels like maybe that second and third issue could have combined a little bit, or aspects of this issue could have been interspersed in different ways and played out differently to still have that information there, because it's all important, because we get a better idea of who these characters are, but at the same time, like, it just feels dragged out, and it feels a little decompressed, I think is the best way of putting it. I do have to say, the quality of the comic is really nice. The cover, there's like it's not quite like a real thick cover, but the texture of it, like, it just feels like a high quality product, which is, I don't often comment on single issues like that, but it's really nice. The pages themselves feel a little bit nicer too, so it's interesting. Is like the comic itself, I think, is actually really high quality, as an example of, like, it feels nice. It looks nice. The pages it doesn't feel like a flimsy thing that's going to kind of tear apart. There's some quality to this, so I'm pretty impressed with Boom and what they put out with this. Art, I think, continues to be pretty solid. It definitely has its own look. I kind of like it. It feels like there's a kind of a blend between fantasy that we've seen, and then like that over top fantasy, like in like Battle Chasers and stuff like that. There's kind of it's a nice happy go-between the two of them. So yeah, it's an interesting issue, and overall, like, as a piece of the puzzle, I think it works. On its own, though, I feel like it could have been plotted a little bit differently to speed things up and still have kind of the key stuff revealed in this issue. So overall, like, if you're reading the series, I think you're going to be, you'll be happy with, I think, the reveals and the personality and kind of the details. But you might sit there and be like, all right, can we get to the point a little bit? Can we play out the action a little bit more? I think that's the other, is like the action. I would have liked maybe more action scenes, and that could have been helped with the pacing. Like, it's just all the action seems to be very quick, handled quickly, and I think there was opportunity for maybe a little bit more kind of over the top presentation as far as the art. But though, like, it's not bad. It's just one of those of, like, I think it's going to work better reading it as one arc. So yeah, it's I think this is one that's getting more into for the Magic fans, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Like, if you're into Magic the Gathering, I think there's enough references in this that you'll probably enjoy it. So yeah, out in comic shops now. You can go get it. We got a link beneath this video. Put in your zip code or tell if the comic shop's near you. No comic shop, no problem. We have some links as well. There'll be affiliate links, so we do get a small percentage of that. By doing that, you'll support our sites, so thank you. If you're into Magic the Gathering, if you're into card games, board games, tabletop games, miniature games, all sorts of games like that, you can go find us at BoardGameToday.com. Of course, we're on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all at Board Games Today. Now, if you're into comics and you want more news about comics and Boom, check us out every single day at GraphicPolicy.com. We're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr, all at Graphic Policy, even more places than that. All at Graphic Policy, keeping it nice and consistent. So until next time, keep rolling the dice, keep tapping those cards, keep reading those comics, and keep it geeky. Hey, thanks for watching the previous video from Graphic Policy Television. Just by watching, you help support our site. Thank you so much. Now, if you're watching these videos, you probably care about geeky things like movies, television, comic books, toys, games, video games, you name it. You can go and subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay in touch and catch all the new videos, or check out our website at graphicpolicy.com. There's a nice link on this end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Keep on rocking and keep it geeky.